Would this creature be safe to domesticate? Fellisio is a Tier 4 creature, weighing 24 tons. If we were to compare it to the largest tiger species alive today, which weighs 300 kilograms, the Siberian tiger would look like a teen lion next to an elephant. Let's try comparing that to a person who is 1.80 meters tall. If we were to remove it from this image, Fellisio would be 2/3 times bigger than a human. Then they would have around 180 times 2, 7 approximately equals 48 meters. What I most want to calculate are the sizes of the teeth. For that, we first need to calculate the head. Assuming a Felly is 4.8 meters tall, we need to apply the feline proportion. 40% of 4.8 meters equals 1.92 meters. In a domestic cat, the canines are 1.2 to 1.5 centimeters long, and the head is 10 centimeters, meaning the canine tooth measures approximately 12 to 15% of the head height. Applying this to Fellisio, who has a head circumference of 1.9 meters, 12 to 15% of that is 23/28 of a centimeter. I would guess 25 pros canines, being the size of a human forearm, which measures 25 to 30 centimeters. The length of a Fellisio's paws alone would be 27 centimeters times 2. 7 approximately equals 73 centimeters. Why 27 centimeters? The average human foot is 25/27 of a centimeter on and 10 centimeters wide. Furthermore, being a quadruped, it is heavy and needs a firm base. Therefore, to be more realistic, it would have to be 80 to 90 centimeters wide and 30 to 35 centimeters long. To withstand 2 tons, the thickness of the legs would have to be approximately 35 to 45 centimeters from the ground to the ankle. The paw pads would have to be like those of a feline reptile mix, and the toes would have to be wide to distribute the weight. This would prevent sinking into the ground and protect the joints. Now for the best part. The Fellisio would need to have 4 main toes and maybe a smaller one like an ergo. This would be perfect for hunting, stability and landing. Their claws would have to be compared to those of a lion. A lion's claw is 7 to 8 centimeters long and weighs 190 kilograms, while a Fellisio weighs 12 times more than a lion. That is to say, 8 centimeters times 2.7 approximately equals 21 to 22 centimeters, but more realistically, I believe it would be 25 to 35 centimeters. Thick and curved at the base, capable of tearing thick leather, piercing flesh, and embedding itself in rocks and soil. Now, the real question is, could it be domesticated? Something so lethal can be domesticated, like elephants, bulls, horses, and even orcas. The real problem is never the potential harm, but rather temperamental control, based on its anatomy and context. Fellisio, so large predator, capable of gliding, with large claws, an absurd level of intelligence, and a body built for hunting and dominating territory. This places Fellisio alongside jaguars and harpy eagle rather than dogs or horses. So, would it be completely domesticated? No. Domestication requires rules such as selection over many generations, reduction of genetic aggression, and controlled reproduction. In other words, an individual Fellisio cannot be domesticated. That would take centuries of selective breeding. Yes, it can be tamed, but only under many conditions. The correct term is that it would be socialized, conditioned. This means they would recognize specific humans, learn boundaries and commands, and not attack without prompting. But it would never would stop being dangerous. It could be tamed in captivity from birth, having constant contact with its owner, in addition to having a single primary caregiver, and it could never suffer abuse, pain, or neglect, and obviously having a huge space. Even so, he wouldn't obey blindly, always acting on instinct, and would react badly to strangers. The greatest risk of owning an animal of this size would not be an attack due to hunger, but rather if it became frightened, attacked reflexively, became territorial, or even sought to protect its caretaker. A single hard slap could lead to accidental death. In other words, it wouldn't be a pet, it wouldn't be safe for society, and it's not domesticable, but it could be conditional in very rare cases. In addition to the food, a single Fellisio can hunt Tier 1 to 3, but it can attack Tier 4 enemies in conflicts. At Tier 5, it would be extremely rare, but obviously, it wouldn't be able to take down behemoths like Koros or Kaldos unless was hunting in a pack. But Fellisio would clearly be a solitary predator. But how much would a Fellisio have to eat to stay satisfied? The answer would be 2.4 tons. This is a simple rule for large carnivores, which consume 5 to 8% of their body weight per week. That would amount to 120 to 190 kilograms of meat per week.